The loneliest cowboy in Harmony Gulch. Dusty Rivers cast his gaze over Harmony Gulch Ranch, an empire of dust and dreams, and felt detached. The wind buffeted his duster, a fragrant gust of sage and approaching rain, but the air only fanned a low-burning ember of discontent. Sunlight blazed against the obsidian peaks, a vibrant tapestry woven with gold and ochre, yet its beauty failed to penetrate his stoicism. He possessed a fortune to rival kings, a domain stretching further than most could fathom, and garnered respect, even veneration, throughout Harmony Gulch. Yet, perched upon Champion, his prized palomino, he felt a profound and isolating solitude. A nudge sent Champion forward, hooves stirring up miniature dust devils on the age-old path. The sheer scale of the ranch, usually a point of pride, now felt like an oppressive weight, amplifying the quiet desolation within him. He'd inherited this land, built it into something even more impressive, but the victories tasted like ashes, the accolades meaningless trinkets. The ranch hands, a loyal and efficient crew, kept everything humming. They tipped their hats in deferential greeting as he passed, offering cheerful words met with a smile that lacked genuine warmth. He provided for them, secured their family's well-being, yet an unbridgeable gulf separated them, a silent divide of disparate realities. He was the boss, the provider, not a companion. The trail snaked towards Harmony Gulch, a modest town whose prosperity was inextricably linked to the Rivers family and its sprawling ranch. Dusty decided on a stop at Fitzwilliam's Mercantile, not for need, but as an excuse for fleeting human interaction. The bell above the door chimed a welcome, releasing a medley of comforting scents: roasted coffee beans, aged leather, and the sugary lure of molasses sweets. Fitzwilliam, a portly man etched with perpetual worry lines, peered over his reading glasses. "Dusty, what brings you to town? Please don't tell me Martha's run out of sweetening again. Last time was quite the kerfuffle." A genuine chuckle escaped Dusty, surprising even himself. "No sugar crisis today, Fitzwilliam. Just thought I'd see what's stirring." Fitzwilliam scratched his chin, studying Dusty with a concerned air. "Not a great deal, I'm afraid. Train came through this morning, brought a few traveling salesmen and the mail. Mrs. Henderson's cat had a litter, all calico. And, well, that's about the extent of it." He paused, then inquired cautiously, "Keeping busy, Dusty?" As always, Dusty echoed, the phrase a bitter pill on his tongue. He feigned interest in the store's wares, his gaze drifting along the shelves. "Just keeping watch, seeing that the ranch continues to operate smoothly. It's a grand ranch, Dusty. Your father would be mighty proud." Fitzwilliam's well-intentioned words only deepened the ache within Dusty. His father had understood him, or so he believed. Since the man's passing, he felt as though some crucial element had been lost. Dusty picked up a tin of peaches, turning it slowly in his hand. "I should get back, Fitzwilliam. Thanks for the news." He set the tin down on the counter. "Put it on my account." "Certainly, Dusty. You take care now." Fitzwilliam watched him go, brow furrowed with concern. He'd known Dusty Rivers since he was a child. He'd watched him mature into a strong, capable individual, but he'd also witnessed the loneliness that clung to him like a second skin. Dusty mounted Champion and turned towards the ranch, the sinking sun painting long, distorted figures across the terrain. He spurred Champion into a gallop, the wind shrieking past his ears, a desperate attempt to outrun the insistent voice within whispering of emptiness. Reaching the crest overlooking the main house, the sight before him was both impressive and disheartening. Rivers' mansion, a sprawling edifice of sandstone and timber, stood as a testament to his family's fortune and standing. Light streamed from every window, illuminating manicured lawns and meticulously arranged flower beds. It was a palace, a symbol of accomplishment, yet tonight it resembled a gilded cage. He dismounted before the imposing entrance, handing Champion to the stable boy with a clipped nod. The massive oak door swung inward, revealing an opulent interior, gleaming floors, sparkling chandeliers, and priceless artwork. Mrs. Henderson, the housekeeper, greeted him with a welcoming smile. "Welcome home, Mr. Rivers. Dinner is ready whenever you are." "Thank you, Mrs. Henderson." He returned a wan smile, then headed towards the library, the only room that offered a semblance of solace. He poured a measure of whiskey, the amber liquid swirling in the glass like liquid fire. He sank into a leather armchair as the fire danced in the hearth. The room was packed with books, his only steadfast companions. He picked up a worn copy of Moby Dick, but the words swam before his eyes. Focus eluded him. He took a generous swallow of whiskey, the searing sensation offering little warmth to his frozen spirit. He was surrounded by wealth, by comfort, by every conceivable material possession. Yet what he truly yearned for, what he desperately sought, was something beyond monetary value: connection. A genuine bond with another soul. Someone who saw past the money, past the ranch, past the facade of Dusty Rivers, the wealthy, successful rancher. Someone who perceived him, the man residing beneath the surface. He closed his eyes, the unending expanse of Harmony Gulch filling his inner vision. He was the sovereign of his domain, the architect of his destiny, yet he was also profoundly, utterly isolated. The loneliest cowboy in Harmony Gulch, imprisoned within walls of his own construction. He finished his whiskey, the silence of the mansion pressing in, heavier than any burden he'd carried. The fire crackled, the wind howled its mournful song, and Dusty Rivers remained alone with his thoughts, the echoes of his desolate life reverberating throughout the vast, silent chambers. A blizzard and a girl at the station. The wind howled like a banshee, tearing through Harmony Gulch with a ferocity that rattled windows and sent drifts of snow swirling into blinding white curtains. The blizzard had descended with alarming speed, transforming the familiar landscape into a treacherous, monochrome world. Visibility was near zero. The normally bustling main street was deserted, businesses shuttered tight against the onslaught. Even the hardiest cattle had sought shelter, huddled together in barns and sheds, their low moans swallowed by the wind's roar. The train station, usually a beacon of activity, was now a desolate island in a sea of white. Snow piled high against its walls, obscuring the windows and muffling the already faint sounds of the storm. Inside, the air was frigid, the pot-belly stove struggling to maintain a semblance of warmth. The only light came from a flickering gas lamp, casting long, dancing shadows across the empty benches. Lily Bell stepped off the train and into the teeth of the blizzard. The wind instantly whipped at her, biting through the thin fabric of her coat. She gasped, her breath catching in her throat as the icy air stole what little warmth she had left. Her worn suitcase, clutched tightly in her gloved hand, felt heavier than it ever had. Harmony Gulch. It was just a name on a map yesterday. Now, it was her only hope. She stumbled towards the station, her eyes narrowed against the driving snow. Each step was a struggle, the wind pushing her back with relentless force. Finally, she reached the relative shelter of the building, collapsing against the wall, shivering uncontrollably. Inside, the station was deserted save for a lone figure standing near the window, his back to her. Lily hesitated, unsure whether to approach. She was used to being unwelcome, an inconvenience, a ghost in the grand scheme of things. The man turned, and Lily found herself face to face with Dusty Rivers. He was even more imposing than she had imagined, taller and broader, his face etched with a weariness that seemed to mirror her own. He wore a thick, fur-lined coat, and his eyes, the color of a stormy sky, held a depth that both intrigued and intimidated her. Dusty had been about to leave, frustrated by the storm's relentless fury and the enforced idleness it brought. He'd come to the station on a whim, a desperate attempt to break free from the suffocating silence of his mansion. He'd expected to find the station master, maybe share a word or two about the weather, but the man was nowhere to be seen. Then he saw her, a young woman, huddled against the wall, her face pale and drawn, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and determination. A wave of compassion, sharp and unexpected, washed over him. He saw not just a stranger, but someone vulnerable, someone in need. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice rough but laced with concern. Lily flinched, startled by his sudden appearance. She straightened up, trying to regain her composure. "Yes, sir," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Just a little cold." Dusty's gaze swept over her threadbare coat and the worn suitcase at her feet. He knew a lie when he heard one. "You just get off the train?" She nodded, her eyes fixed on the floor. "Yes, sir. I'm looking for work." The words hung in the air, fragile and desperate. Dusty knew the odds were stacked against her. A blizzard raging outside, a small town already struggling to make ends meet, and a young woman with nothing but a suitcase and a hope. "What kind of work are you looking for?" he asked, his curiosity piqued. "Anything, sir," she replied, her voice gaining a little strength. "I can cook, clean, so I'm a hard worker." Dusty studied her for a moment, his mind racing. He needed help at the ranch, that much was true. Mrs. Henderson, his housekeeper, was getting on in years, and the workload was becoming too much for her. But hiring a stranger, especially one who looked so fragile, was a risk. Yet, something about Lily's quiet dignity, the spark of resilience in her eyes, resonated with him. He saw in her a reflection of his own loneliness, his own yearning for something more. "I own the Harmony Gulch Ranch," he said, his voice firm. "I might have something for you." Lily's head snapped up, her eyes widening with hope. "You do, sir." Dusty nodded slowly. "It wouldn't be easy. Long hours, hard work. But it would be a roof over your head and food in your belly." He paused, searching her face. "Are you willing to work for it?" Lily met his gaze, her own unwavering. The fear in her eyes was still there, but it was overshadowed by a fierce determination. "Yes, sir," she said, her voice clear and strong. "I am." Dusty Rivers had come to the train station seeking solace from his own isolation. Instead, he found a girl in the storm. He didn't know it yet, but his life and the life of Harmony Gulch was about to change forever. An offer of warmth. Dusty stood a moment longer, the wind whipping his coat around him like a restless spirit. He watched Lily, her small frame practically swallowed by the swirling snow. The blizzard seemed to press in on her, stealing what little warmth she might have had left. He couldn't leave her here. He crunched through the snow, towards her, the sound muffled by the storm. "Miss Bell," he said, his voice pitched to carry over the wind's howl. "It's no fit night for anyone to be out. I have a ranch a few miles from here. I can offer you shelter until the storm passes." Lily looked up, her eyes wide and uncertain. The lantern light flickered, casting dancing shadows on her face. Suspicion warred with exhaustion in her gaze. She clutched her worn satchel tighter, her knuckles white. I don't know you," she said, her voice barely audible. The words were edged with a weariness that tugged at Dusty's heart. He understood her hesitation. A lone woman, stranded and vulnerable. He was a stranger, offering help. It was a situation ripe for distrust. "My name is Dusty Rivers," he said, extending a hand, though he knew she likely wouldn't take it. "I own the Rivers Ranch. I saw you arrive on the train. There's no one else here, Miss Bell. No hotel, no estajecoch, nothing. Just me and this blizzard." He dropped his hand to his side, shoving it into his coat pocket, waiting for her response. Lily didn't move. The wind tore at her hair, whipping strands across her face. She pushed them back with a gloved hand, her eyes still fixed on him, searching. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you do this?" Dusty shrugged, the gesture awkward in the heavy coat. "Because it's the decent thing to do. No one should be left out in this weather. Besides," he added, a hint of a smile playing on his lips, "I could use the company." He saw a flicker of something in her eyes, a glimmer of hope, perhaps, or maybe just the desperation of someone with nowhere else to turn. He knew the gossip that would fly if he brought her back to the ranch. Folks in Harmony Gulch loved a good scandal. A young woman staying at a bachelor's ranch would be fodder for weeks. But he pushed the thought aside. He couldn't let her freeze to death worrying about wagging tongues. "I have a warm bed, a hot meal, and a fire burning in the hearth," he continued, his voice softening. "You can stay until the storm breaks. No strings attached, Miss Bell. Just simple human kindness." He held his breath, waiting for her decision. The wind seemed to hold its breath too, the only sound the frantic whisper of snow against the walls of the station. Lily looked from Dusty to the swirling white chaos beyond him. The warmth of his offer, both literal and figurative, was a stark contrast to the biting cold that had already seeped into her bones. She thought of the money in her satchel, barely enough to keep her going for a few weeks, and the uncertainty of finding work in this desolate place. She had faced hardship before, but this felt different, more ominous. She chewed her lip, her gaze still locked on Dusty's face, searching for any sign of deception. What she saw was a weariness that mirrored her own, and something else, a quiet strength, a hint of loneliness. Finally, she let out a shaky breath. "All right," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "All right, Mr. Rivers. I accept your offer." Relief washed over Dusty, so strong it surprised him. He hadn't realized how much he wanted her to say yes. He stepped closer, careful not to crowd her. "Good," he said, his voice regaining its usual warmth. "Let's get you out of this cold." He gestured towards the waiting horses. "My ranch is a few miles east of here. It's going to be a cold ride, but we'll get there." Lily nodded, her shoulders slumping slightly with exhaustion. She followed him to the horses, her movements stiff and awkward. Dusty helped her mount behind him on the larger horse, ensuring she had a firm grip. The leather of his coat was rough against her gloved hands. As they rode out of the train station and into the swirling white abyss, Lily clung tightly to Dusty's back, the warmth of his body a welcome shield against the biting wind. The snow stung her face, and the wind howled in her ears, but for the first time since arriving in Harmony Gulch, she felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, she had found a haven in this desolate place. Dusty urged the horses forward, his gaze fixed on the faint glow of the lantern he had tied to the front of his saddle, a beacon in the swirling darkness. He knew the road ahead would be difficult, but he also knew that he couldn't turn back. He had made a promise, and he intended to keep it. And maybe, just maybe, this chance encounter in the heart of a blizzard was the beginning of something more than just shelter for the night. Maybe it was the beginning of a warmth that could thaw the frozen landscape of his own life. Life at Rivers Ranch. The ranch house rose from the snow-laden landscape, an emblem of warmth and sanctuary. More than mere dwelling, it stood as a sprawling monument to the Rivers family's legacy, a two-story edifice constructed of solid timbers, graced with a broad, inviting veranda that defied the storm's ferocity. As Dusty drew rein before it, a flicker of something akin to anticipation surged through Lily. He dismounted with a fluid ease that spoke of countless hours in the saddle, then offered her a hand, his gloved touch a haven from the cold. "Welcome to Rivers Ranch, Lily," he greeted, his voice rasped by the wind's bite. "Hope it meets your expectations." The portal swung open before they reached it, revealing a woman who exuded a palpable aura of heat. Sturdily built, her face bore the indelible marks of warmth and a pragmatic resolve. A bright apron adorned her generous figure, and a wooden spoon was clutched firmly in her grip. "Dusty Rivers, picking up strays, as usual," she called, her voice easily piercing the wind's howl, though tempered with affection and seasoned familiarity. "Martha," Dusty responded, a ghost of a smile gracing his lips. "This is Lily Bell. Lily, meet Martha Rodriguez, the very heart of Rivers Ranch." Martha's gaze, sharp and discerning, assessed Lily from top to toe. "Fruzen sulit idevaja." "Get her inside, Dusty." "Soup's on." With a sweep of the spoon, she ushered them in. Immediate, encompassing warmth replaced the frigid air outside. The mingled fragrances of simmering produce and wood smoke hung heavy in the air. Lily felt her tightly wound nerves begin to unwind. Without delay, Martha guided Lily to a chair beside the blazing hearth, pressing a fragrant, steaming mug into her hands. "Drink up, child. It'll thaw you right through." Lily obeyed, the warm liquid soothing her sore throat and reviving her numb extremities. As she drank, she observed Martha bustling about the kitchen, her actions efficient and decisive, a woman in complete command of her domain. "So, Lily Bell, Martha started, facing her once more. Dusty tells me you're seeking employment. Lily nodded, placing down her mug. Yes, Mum. Could always use extra hand around here, Martha countered, her gaze unwavering. Especially someone unafraid of honest labor. Can you cook? A little, Lily conceded, thinking of the sparse meal she had prepared over the years. Clean? Men? Martha persisted. Yes, ma'am. Both. Good enough, Martha declared, a rare smile gracing her lips. You start tomorrow. We'll find you something more suitable than those city clothes. Lily felt a surge of heartfelt gratitude. Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Dusty. Dusty, who had been observing from the doorway, straightened. Get some rest, Lily. Martha will show you to your quarters. The following days passed in a flurry of activity. Lily proved a quick and eager learner. She aided Martha in the kitchen, prepping vegetables and scouring pots. She tidied the bunkhouse, making beds and sweeping floors. She even ventured into the barn to assist with chores, her initial apprehension dissolving into quiet assurance. Dusty watched her, a silent observer, taking note of the gentle tone she used with the horses, the patient understanding she displayed when helping a ranch hand repair a fence, the sincere kindness she showed to everyone. Martha, too, was impressed. That girl's got backbone, she remarked one evening as she and Dusty sat by the fire. And a good soul. You can see it shining in her eyes. Dusty merely nodded, his gaze held captive by the dancing flames. He knew Martha spoke the truth. Lily Bell was more than just a rescued waif. She possessed an extraordinary spirit. One afternoon, Lily was in the garden, nurturing the few resilient plants that had weathered the winter's fury. Dusty came upon her there, a furrow in her brow as she carefully weeded a patch of herbs. You have a natural talent, he observed, startling her. Lily glanced up, color tinting her cheeks. It's peaceful, she said simply, and rewarding to see life flourish. Dusty leaned against the fence, watching her. Seems your talents extend to many things. Lily shrugged, turning her attention back to the plants. I only strive to do my best. You exceed that, Lily, Dusty said softly. You bring a spark of light to this place. Lily's head snapped up, her gaze colliding with his. She detected a raw sincerity, a vulnerability that mirrored her own. For a heartbeat, they remained suspended in that moment, the soft whisper of wind through the trees the only sound. Then, Martha's booming voice shattered the delicate spell. Lily, Dusty, supper. Startled, they both turned, a faint blush on their faces, and headed toward the house, the unspoken words lingering between them like gossamer threads. The rhythms of life at Rivers Ranch were gently mending them both. Whispers in Harmony Gulch. The general store murmured with subdued commerce, a low thrum of voices barely audible beneath Mrs. Abernathy's scales metallic ticking as she portioned sugar. Outside, the wind, less savage than yesterday, still had a biting edge, urging shoppers to linger among the crammed shelves. Lily, secluded by the fabric bolts, meticulously measured calico for an apron, her expression intent. A sensation of being watched crept over her. It wasn't the draft seeping from the ill-fitting window, but something more palpable. New blood. Isn't she? A voice, dry as rustling leaves, cut through the air. Feigning deafness, Lily folded the cloth. Rivers Ranch way out yonder. A lonely spot for a woman alone. Another voice, heavier, dripped with implication. Lily bit back a retort, her face flushed. She willed herself to remain calm, to disregard the insidious whispers coiling around her like vines. This job was vital, a chance she couldn't squander. Clara Davenport, her golden hair a testament to effort despite the wind, swept into the store, a vision swathed in a fur-collared coat worth more than Lily's annual earnings. She possessed an innate regal grace. Her gaze surveyed the occupants, flicking over Lily before settling on Mrs. Abernathy. Morning, Agnes, Clara purred, her tone deceptively sweet. Dreadful weather lately, though some fine profit in any trouble, I hear. A ripple of knowing laughter trickled through the store. Lily's grip tightened on the fabric. Clara ignored Lily's presence, yet her words oozed veiled meaning. Dusty must be feeling benevolent. It's been years since he's hired anyone, especially a woman. The word hung in the air, weighty with unspoken accusations. He needed assistance, Clara, Mrs. Abernathy retorted, her voice sharper than usual. She had watched Dusty grow up. Clara gave a brittle laugh, its cheerfulness a performance. Naturally, Agnes. I'm sure he did. Managing that expansive ranch solo must be terribly isolating. I've often thought I could offer a helping hand, were he to ask. She batted her lashes in a practice display. The murmurs intensified, fueled by Clara's subtle venom. Lily felt exposed, like a specimen pinned for study, her every action scrutinized and judged. She paid for her fabric, her voice a mere breath, and escaped the store, crushed by the weight of their disapproval. Later that afternoon, Dusty's arrival broke the fragile peace. The creak of his saddle formed a backdrop to Lily's fluttering nerves. She was repairing a tear in a horse blanket when she spotted him dismounting before the general store. A newfound resolve tightened his features, his eyes narrowed. He emerged moments later, a paper sack gripped in one hand, a thunderous expression on his face. Seeing Lily, his face softened fractionally, but the underlying tension remained. "Lily," he greeted, his tone clipped. "Come with me." He led her away from the barn, toward the meandering creek. The air possessed a crisp, clean bite, yet the silence hummed with unspoken words. "I overheard some things in town," he confessed, breaking the quiet. "About you." Lily steeled herself. "I assumed as much." Clara Davenport. He spat the name like poison. "She possesses a venomous tongue." "It's unimportant," Lily countered, seeking a bravery she didn't feel. "I can manage." Dusty halted, pivoting to face her. "It is important. You're my employee, a guest in my home. I won't tolerate such talk." He searched her face, his blue eyes intense, and Lily caught a glimpse of something new, a fierce protectiveness, a resolute spirit. "This is my ranch, Lily," he stated, his voice controlled and firm. "And I decide who finds sanctuary here and what is said about them." He reached out, his hand hovering, then retracting as if hesitant. "Don't let them wound you," he urged, his voice softening. "They're merely small-minded." Lily nodded, her pulse quickening. It transcended simple gossip now. It concerned Dusty, his gaze, the burgeoning warmth blossoming within her. Harmony Gulch had cast its verdict, yet in the serenity of Rivers Ranch, a different narrative was taking root. Rumors and hurt feelings. The morning light slanted through the windows of Harmony Gulch's greasy spoon as Dusty Rivers stepped inside, the familiar aroma of sizzling swine and robust coffee a welcome embrace. He scanned the room, hoping to catch Lily before she was swallowed by her duties. He needed to gauge her spirits after yesterday's malicious buzz. Near the window, Clara Davenport held court, her voice a shade too resonant. He felt the prickle of attention as heads swiveled his way. "Dusty, dear," Clara cooed, her smile an overripe peach, too sweet to be genuine. "What brings you to town at this ungodly hour?" "Just fueling up," Dusty countered, his tone even. The atmosphere thickened, laced with the unspoken daggers Clara so enjoyed flinging. She leaned closer, her perfume a suffocating bouquet that threatened to overwhelm him. "I hear you took in that girl from the train." "Lily, isn't it?" Dusty's jaw clenched. "She's got a job at the ranch." Clara's smile remained fixed. "Indeed, I'm sure she's appreciative. Though one does ponder a woman devoid of kin, devoid of references, arriving in the heart of winter. Makes one wonder what she's fleeing, doesn't it?" A theatrical pause hung in the air. "I seem to recall a rather unsavory anecdote about a Lily Bell some years back, involving rather unpleasantries down in Abilene. A coincidence, perhaps? Still, vigilance is key these days." Dusty's gaze remained steady and impassive as he simply gave a short nod before beelining to the counter. Later, while repairing a damaged fence post, Dusty caught Clara's distinct voice carried on the breeze. He froze, hammer suspended, and listened. She was in conversation with Mrs. Henderson and Martha Bellwether, their voices a secretive murmur, yet still within earshot. Said she was practically hounded out of town, Clara drawled, her tone dripping with manufactured concern. Something about, let's just say her virtue was questionable. It seems she carries quite the baggage. Poor Dusty. His trusting nature will be his undoing. A wave of anger washed over Dusty. He dropped the hammer, its clang cutting through the air, and marched toward the gossiping trio, his boots crunching on the parched earth. Clara, he stated, voice a low rumble. Exactly what are you implying about Lily? Clara feigned surprise, eyes widening innocently. Dusty, didn't realize you were there. We were merely discussing the new help. Discussing, or dishing dirt, Dusty challenged, his eyes hardening to flint. Mrs. Henderson and Martha Bellwether squirmed visibly, their gaze flitting nervously between Dusty and Clara. I'm simply expressing concern, Dusty, Clara insisted, adopting a wounded air. I wouldn't want to see you exploited. Lily is a good woman, Dusty stated, his voice gaining intensity. She's honest, hardworking, and deserves respect. And I will not stand by while you spread malicious gossip about her, especially when it stems from nothing but your own twisted imagination. He turned towards Mrs. Henderson and Martha Bellwether. Pay her stories no mind. Lily is welcome here, and she has my unqualified endorsement. He shot one last piercing glare at Clara and departed, leaving her stammering with indignation. Back at the ranch house, Lily labored at the kitchen counter, scrubbing it with furious energy. She had absorbed enough. Eavesdropped snippets, furtive glances, veiled accusations. Clara Davenport's poisonous words had taken root. The Abilene story had resurfaced, certain details now distorted beyond recognition. The truth was irrelevant. Doubt had been skillfully sown. She had become a weight on Dusty, a magnet for speculation and controversy. He deserved far better. Pain clawed at her heart. She had begun to find solace here, to even envision a future where she might belong. But it was just wishful thinking. She was accustomed to dreams disintegrating. Dusty discovered her later, her back to him, her shoulders slumped in defeat. He rested a hand on her arm. Lily, I overheard Clara's words. It's not the truth, is it? Lily remained facing away. It's inconsequential, Dusty. Perception is all that matters. And they believe her. I believe you, Dusty responded, his voice gentle. Lily shook her head, still turned away from him. I can't remain here, Dusty. I'm only creating problems. Dusty's grip on her arm tightened. Don't talk like that. You aren't creating problems. Clara is. But Lily's choice was already made. That night, shielded by the inky cloak of a moonless sky, Lily crammed her few possessions into her battered suitcase. She left a note on the kitchen table, a concise apology and a heartfelt thank you. Then, she stole from the ranch house, vanishing into the night, leaving Dusty Rivers to suffer alone once again, the acrid taste of rumors and broken trust lingering in the air. A ride through the storm. The bunkhouse slumbered in absolute quiet. Dusty's footsteps resonated with jarring volume on the wooden planks as he moved. He'd placed Lily in the furthest room, hoping for a semblance of peace and privacy for her. On the small table, a cluster of wildflowers stood as a vibrant rebellion against the room's austerity. He tapped lightly on the door. Lily? Supper's almost ready. Silence. He tried again, a touch firmer. Still no reply. A prickle of anxiety began to gnaw at him. He eased the door open. The room was vacant. The bed was made with unnerving precision, too perfect for a recent arrival. Her meager possessions, the battered valise, her constant shawl, had vanished. Only the wildflowers remained, their sweet scent a mocking reminder of his burgeoning hope. A jolt of raw panic surged through him. He hurried back to the main house, his boots drumming a frantic tattoo against the floorboards. Martha was at the stove, stirring chili, its savory scent offering scant comfort. Martha, have you seen Lily? Without looking up, she stated, she's gone, Dusty. Her tone was devoid of its usual warmth. Gone? What do you mean? He clutched the chair back, his knuckles aching. Martha finally turned, her face etched with a blend of sorrow and disapproval. She spoke with me this morning, said she couldn't remain. She felt she was stirring up trouble. I reasoned with her, heaven knows, but her mind was made up. Where? Did she say where she was headed? Dusty's voice was a strained rasp. Martha sighed, wiping her hands on her apron. Back to Abilene, I imagine. She boarded the stage. It departed about an hour past. An hour. He might still intercept her. But outside, the wind shrieked like a tormented spirit. Snow battered the windows, turning the world into a disorienting white blur. A blizzard. A raging, merciless blizzard. You allowed her to leave in this? The question exploded from him, raw disbelief mingled with a searing, unfamiliar ache. Martha remained unmoved. She's a grown woman, Dusty. Restraining her was impossible. Besides, her voice softened. She seemed resolved, as if she were fleeing something. Or perhaps, fleeing you. Her words landed like a solid blow. Fleeing him? Was he truly so incapable of providing sanctuary, of offering solace? Clara's venomous words slithered into his thoughts. Had he actually believed he could banish Lily's past? A profound certainty settled within him. He couldn't permit her to vanish. Not like this. Not into that tempest. Not without a fight. He loved her. The realization struck him with the brutal force of the tempest outside. He loved her understated strength, her tender nature, the way she observed the world with mingled trepidation and hope. He adored how she transformed his desolate ranch into something resembling a home. He snatched his thick coat and hat, ignoring Martha's frantic objections. Dusty, you're mad. You cannot venture out in this. It's a death sentence. I must, Martha. I have to try. He plunged into the maelstrom. The wind clawed at him, stealing his breath and stinging his eyes. Visibility was reduced to almost nothing in the swirling white chaos. He struggled towards the stables, his thoughts racing. The stagecoach couldn't have progressed far in this onslaught. Perhaps, just perhaps, he could still reach her. He saddled Paint, his most reliable Appaloosa, and spurred him into the blizzard. The ride was a grueling ordeal. The wind howled like demons, snow plastered his face, and the cold bit at every inch of exposed skin. He followed the faint remnants of the stagecoach tracks, praying he wasn't too late. Hours dissolved into an agonizing stretch of time. The sun, veiled behind a thick layer of storm clouds, offered neither heat nor direction. Just as his determination began to fray, just as his body threatened to succumb to the encroaching cold, he spotted it. A dark form huddled against a snowdrift, barely perceptible in the swirling white. He urged Paint onward, his heart pounding with mingled dread and resolve. As he neared, he recognized the distinctive drape of Lily's shawl. He dismounted, his legs leaden with fatigue, and stumbled towards her. Lily, no response. He knelt beside her, gently clearing the snow from her face. Her skin was frigid, her lips tinged blue. Her eyes remained shut. Lily, wake up, please. His voice broke with desperation as he gently shook her. Her eyelids fluttered, and she gazed at him with a glazed, unfocused stare. Dusty, she whispered, her voice a mere breath against the wind. What are you doing here? I came for you, Lily. I came to bring you home. He gathered her into his arms, his body shaking with a mixture of cold and overwhelming relief. She was alive. He'd found her. Now he simply needed to transport her back to the ranch, back to warmth, back to life. A confession and a dance. The wind, a banshee's wail, clawed at Dusty Rivers as he trudged through the mounting snow. Lily's frail form a dead weight in his embrace. Each icy blast threatened to wrest her away, to entomb her beneath the implacable white. He clung to the whisper of her breath, a tenuous pulse against the storm's savage drumming. The ranch house, a haven of warmth promising salvation, felt impossibly distant, a mirage in the swirling chaos. He finally shoulder-barged through the doorway, a frosted specter, Martha flying to his aid, her face etched with alarm. Sweet Jesus, she breathed, her voice tight. Together, they eased Lily onto Dusty's bed its softness a stark contrast to the unforgiving landscape. A whirlwind of purposeful motion, Martha divested Lily of her frozen garments, cocooned her in heated blankets, and kindled a roaring fire in the hearth. Dusty could only watch, paralyzed by uselessness and gnawing remorse, as Martha battled to rekindle the flame in Lily's frigid body. Hours dissolved into a vortex of anxiety. Dusty maintained a somber vigil, his hand clasped tight within Lily's icy fingers. Outside, the blizzard raged on, echoing the tempest tearing through his soul. He'd been a dolt, oblivious to the gem he possessed. He should have fought harder for her, declared himself sooner, unburdened his soul of the feelings that now threatened to drown him. At long last, Lily stirred. Her eyelids fluttered, her gaze unfocused, then slowly sharpened as the room swam into view. She blinked, bewilderment clouding her features. "Dusty," she rasped, her voice a dry scrape. "I'm here, Lily," he choked out, emotion fracturing his voice. "I'm so sorry. I should have." The words failed him, inadequate to convey the scale of his regret. Lily coughed, a shallow, rattling sound. Martha, solicitous, offered a cup of steaming broth. She managed a few sips before exhaustion dragged her back down. Later, as her strength returned, Dusty sat beside her once more. The storm had relinquished its grip, leaving a world swathed in pristine white. The silence in the room hung thick and heavy, laden with unspoken truths. "Why did you come after me?" Lily whispered, her voice barely audible. Dusty inhaled deeply, bracing himself for what he had to say. "Because I love you, Lily. The realization struck me when you were gone. I was a fool, blinded by my own stubborn pride." He glanced down at his calloused hands, feeling utterly unworthy. "I know I don't deserve you, but I'll dedicate the rest of my days to earning your forgiveness. Please, say you can forgive me." Her eyes searched his, a spark of hope igniting within their depths. "You love me," she breathed, as if afraid to voice the impossible. "More than anything," he avowed, his gaze unwavering. "More than the ranch, more than life itself." A fragile smile graced Lily's lips. "Then maybe," she murmured, "maybe there's a future for us, after all." The air in Harmony Gulch Town Hall vibrated with excitement that Saturday. The annual winter dance pulsed with life. Music, peals of laughter, and a mouth-watering scent of Mrs. Henderson's famous apple pie. Dusty, jittery with a nervous energy he hadn't felt since childhood, escorted Lily into the crowded hall. Clad in a simple yet striking dress of sapphire blue, the color of the evening sky, she was a vibrant beacon against the backdrop of drab attire. The music swelled, a spirited polka, and couples whirled across the polished floorboards. Dusty drew Lily into the throng, his hand secure in hers. For a blissful interlude, they surrendered to the rhythm, their movements a silent dialogue of hope and renewed faith. The festive atmosphere was abruptly shattered. Clara Davenport, her face contorted with malice, stormed onto the makeshift stage, commanding the room's attention. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, her voice dripping with venom, "I have a little tale to share about our new arrival, Miss Lily Bell. Did you all know that back in?" Dusty felt an icy dread grip his heart. He knew what was coming. He recognized the viperous glint in Clara's eyes, the poorly concealed disdain she harbored for Lily. Before Clara could unleash her barbed words, Dusty moved decisively, his presence silencing the room. "That's enough, Clara," he said, his voice a low rumble of warning. Clara sneered. "Just exposing the truth, Dusty. Don't you think everyone deserves to know about?" Dusty cut her off, his voice gaining power. "The truth is, Lily has endured hardships that would crush most of us. She's stronger, kinder, and more resilient than anyone I've ever known. And I couldn't be prouder to stand beside her." He turned to Lily, his eyes brimming with affection. "Lily," he declared, his voice ringing with sincerity, "will you do me the immeasurable honor of becoming my wife?" A collective gasp rippled through the room. Every gaze was fixed on Lily, her expression a canvas of shock and nascent joy. A profound hush descended, smothering Clara's spiteful pronouncements. Lily's eyes locked with Dusty's, and in that instant, she glimpsed a future illuminated by love, safety, and steadfast devotion. A slow, radiant smile bloomed across her face. "Yes, Dusty," she replied, her voice clear and resonant. "Yes, I will." A joyous roar erupted, eclipsing Clara's furious sputtering. Dusty drew Lily into his arms, sealing their pledge with a passionate kiss, a declaration of their enduring love for all to witness. The music resumed, a languid, romantic waltz. As they swayed together, lost in each other's embrace, the murmurs dissipated, replaced by a wave of hope and acceptance. The town of Harmony Gulch, once wary and divided, had borne witness to a love that could overcome any obstacle. Harmony restored. Lily's breath hitched, a sob escaping her lips. "Dusty," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Are you sure? After everything, after what Clara almost said." Dusty cupped her face, his thumbs gently wiping away the tears that streamed down her cheeks. "Lily Bell, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Your past doesn't matter to me, only our future." He leaned in, his voice a low rumble only she could hear. "Marry me, Lily. Be my wife." The dance floor seemed to fade away, the music a distant hum. All that existed was Dusty's earnest gaze, filled with a love that washed over her, erasing the doubts and fears that had haunted her for so long. "Yes," she breathed, her voice stronger now. "Yes, Dusty, I'll marry you." A collective sigh swept through the crowd. Clara stood frozen, her face a mask of frustrated fury. But around her something shifted. Mrs. Henderson, the baker known for her sharp tongue, nudged her husband, a gentle smile gracing her lips. Even Sheriff Brody, a man of few words, nodded in approval. Dusty's unwavering devotion had cracked the shell of judgment that had surrounded Lily. They saw not a woman with a shadowed past, but a woman loved fiercely by one of their own. Martha Rodriguez bustled forward, her ample frame radiating warmth. "Well, what are we waiting for? A wedding to plan? Dusty, you leave everything to me. Lily, honey, come with me. We have dresses to look at and cakes to sample." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Harmony Gulch, once divided, united in the preparations for the wedding. Women argued good-naturedly over the color of the ribbons. Men hammered and sawed, building a makeshift altar in the town square. Lily, guided by Martha's capable hands, found herself embraced by the community she had once feared. She helped choose fabrics and learned to bake pies under Mrs. Henderson's watchful eye. The past, though not forgotten, seemed to loosen its grip, replaced by the promise of a brighter future. Dusty, meanwhile, was a man transformed. The gruff rancher now sported a permanent grin, his eyes sparkling with happiness. He spent hours ensuring the ranch was perfect for Lily, adding touches he knew she would appreciate. A small flower garden outside the kitchen window, a comfortable reading nook by the fireplace. The wedding day dawned bright and clear. The town square was transformed, draped with wildflowers and colorful bunting. The air buzzed with excitement and anticipation. Lily, radiant in a simple but elegant gown sewn by Martha, walked down the aisle on the arm of Sheriff Brody, a symbol of her acceptance into the community. Dusty stood waiting, his heart pounding in his chest. As Lily approached, he felt a wave of emotion wash over him. He had found his home, his heart, in this woman. The ceremony was short and sweet, filled with heartfelt vows and unspoken promises. When the preacher pronounced them man and wife, a cheer erupted from the crowd. Dusty swept Lily into his arms, kissing her soundly as the town celebrated around them. The reception was a joyous affair, a testament to the power of forgiveness and acceptance. Even Clara, subdued and chastened, offered a grudging congratulations. Lily and Dusty spent the evening dancing, laughing, and surrounded by the warmth of their newfound community. Life on the ranch settled into a comfortable rhythm. Lily, with her gentle touch and unwavering spirit, transformed the homestead into a haven of love and laughter. She tended to the flower garden, baked bread that filled the house with a comforting aroma, and read aloud to Dusty in the evenings. Dusty, in turn, cherished her, protecting her from the harsh realities of the world and showering her with affection. They opened their home to those in need, offering food, shelter, and a listening ear. A traveling salesman down on his luck, a young widow struggling to raise her children, all found solace and support at the Rivers Ranch. Dusty and Lily proved that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars and cents, but in the compassion and kindness they shared with others. Harmony Gulch, once a town divided by suspicion and prejudice, had learned a valuable lesson. They had witnessed the transformative power of love, the courage of forgiveness, and the beauty of acceptance. And in the heart of it all was Dusty and Lily, a testament to the fact that even the most unlikely of love stories could bloom, bringing light and harmony to a world that desperately needed it. Their ranch became a beacon of hope, a place where everyone, regardless of their past, could find a place to belong.